Welcome everyone to The Garage, the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordo. Mr. Peter Clayton is behind the camera. And I wanted to just clarify something here. When I talked to you yesterday about this thing for the yes vote, this is the how to vote. Let me repeat again that they can't, the people who are promoting this, that is the Prime Minister himself, cannot possibly go on the Insiders on Sunday on the ABC and get this totally wrong, back to front. Is it possible that he hasn't read the 26 pages because he hasn't read? Because he certainly hasn't read this, which says clearly that Australians, or the government, to improve the outcomes for Indigenous Australians in areas of health and education, etc., would ask the Voice to come up with the best solutions. Yet he said publicly and loudly the other way around. The Voice would come to government, and government wouldn't necessarily have to take any notice of what they said. They can't get their facts straight. I was going to say their lies straight. But they can't deny that. I mean, it's there in black and white. And of course, he compounds the felony by saying, when the yes vote gets up, well, of course, it's not going to get up, but when the yes vote gets up, we will have a joint sitting of Parliament and work out how it's going to happen, how it's going to be implemented, which means they have no idea. And that right there is evidence to me that they have absolutely no idea. And they think they will just skate through because we're stupid. Well, sir, we're not. Also, on the subject of the Prime Minister, he said on the 7 Evening News, that's on Friday night, vote yes. Everything to gain, nothing to lose. Everything to gain, nothing to lose. That's a blatant lie. But he'll get by saying, well, I didn't read the 26 pages that told me exactly what was behind the whole thing. How does he have the gall to face up to the cameras? I've got no idea. Everything to gain and nothing to lose. Not one journalist there at that, and it was a sort of a, not quite a doorstop, but there were about, I suppose, half a dozen, 2 dozen journalists standing around. Not one journalist there, of the many, pulled him up and asked him some questions. Well, what do you mean by that, sir? What sort of media are we running? But back to the Prime Minister. This is the man, as I say, who hasn't read the statement, but says he will implement it in full. Implement it in full, yet he hasn't even bothered to read it. Truly disgraceful. If he survives this, it will be amazing. What will this government do when the referendum is over? As I said to you yesterday, I don't think it'll be carried in any state, and it's got to carry the majority of states. The majority of people in the majority of states. It's not going to do this. Wasted $400 million. The Aboriginal people will still be there. The problems will still be there. The PM says that he will not legislate the voice. Perhaps, sir, because perhaps you might ask the, I always get the initials wrong, the NIAA. I think that's right.
Yes.
The NIAA, and if you were listening to our live streaming show on Friday, I read the proclamation issued by the Governor-General, Peter Cosgrove, Sir Peter Cosgrove, establishing exactly what the NIAA was supposed to do. It was about, Pete, what was it, 5 years ago?
2019.
2019.
Yes.
Okay. And it was basically set up at great expense to be an Aboriginal voice to government at a cost of $4 billion a year. Why can't it do its job? Why hasn't it done its job? Prime Minister, have you ever asked them why they don't do their job?
Linda Burney, as the Indigenous Minister, is responsible for the administration of the NIAA.
Yeah, well, the NIAA come to Linda Burney and give her the details that she must need to do the will of the Aboriginal people. It's all set up there, the mechanism is there, the money is there, everything is there, but now we have the voice. I don't get that. You know? Why can't it do its job? Why hasn't it done its job? I don't know where we go with this. But let me ask you this question, as if I'm talking to the Prime Minister now. If I was interviewing him, I would say, sir, would you scrap this outfit, the NIAA? Would you? Would you scrap this because it obviously is a failure? Would you scrap that? And the rest of the $40 billion Aboriginal industry, if the voice gets up? Can you hear a journalist asking that very simple question? No, of course they wouldn't. No one would. Are you scared of that little man? I don't understand. I can tell you this, that the voice would just be, if it got up, it would be another layer of ineffective bureaucracy. Another additive to the Aboriginal industry, which is the last thing the Aboriginal people, who never get their money, want or need. And everyone, including the media, is oblivious and blind to all of this. Horrific. Let me talk to you about Nargis Mohammadi, who has, and congratulations, just won the Nobel Peace Prize. The only problem is that she's in prison in Iran, sentenced to 35 years jail. 35 years jail. Would you get that for murder? Huh? 35 years jail for her crusade to allow women to be freed from the strict Islamic dress code. The hijab, the niqab, the burqa. It's amazing, isn't it? People, this beautiful woman, not that the Nobel Peace Prize is going to do her any good. You know, if I ran the United Nations, I'd storm the bloody prison and get her out. But that's not going to happen with the United Nations, of course. But I find it incredible that people will go to prison to free themselves from this oppression. Male, religious male imposed oppression. Yet you see women in Australia willingly, I assume willingly, covered from head to toe, walking behind their husband or their man or their elderly relative, I don't know, totally submissive. Is this totally free country going to put up with that? Why don't we have some contact with people and say, hey, when you come to Australia, you're free. You can do what you like, you can wear what you like, you don't have to do that. Oh dear. If you want to do it, okay, that's fine. But when people want to go to jail just to take all this material off their body and show their femininity, if people are prepared to go to jail for that, I find it hard to believe there are people walking around in Australia in all this, in the summer particularly, in all this black stuff, imagining it's what they want to do. What do you reckon, Pete?
They don't want to, Jeremy. They're afraid not to. I mean,
well,
we've had
you
honour
don't come
killings
to Australia
here.
and be afraid.
Well, there's been honour killings. They are afraid of the men in their family.
But you know, our problem is we have this weird thing that people come to this country with something that is quite alien to Australia and our system of rights and privileges. And they get away with it because the lefties think, oh, it's cultural. Cultural. Can't touch that. No, it's cultural. Well, to hell with culture. If it is against the interests of the individual and particularly the woman or the child, to hell with it. Get rid of it. We are not part of the dark age, hopefully. It seems the immigration system, talking about things like this, is a bit like the NDIS. By that I mean infiltrated by organised crime. Can you imagine? Isn't that funny? They know it's infiltrated by organised crime, and no one seems to do anything or take particularly any ministerial responsibility for it. How could that happen? Why would that happen? Why is that allowed to happen? Well, apparently when it comes to immigration, people smugglers, corruption, sex slaves, dodgy schools, come here, get a certificate, no learning, no real certificate, but you get in as a student. Crime syndicates running the immigration advice industry. Okay, I know it. The media knows it. The government doesn't know it. Can't do anything about it. Won't do anything about it. Anyway, the government admits all of this. Australia, under Anthony Albanese, 2023, God help us. No accountability. We'll just admit that we've got crime syndicates operating the immigration system. We just admit it and walk off. No one resigns, no one loses his job, nothing. God, for heaven's sake. And while we're talking about outrage, 137 days stuck outside Adelaide hospitals last month. Can you get your mind around that? It's called ramping. The equivalent of 137 days in the back of an ambulance, ramped. And a key election promise of Peter Malinauskas was to end ramping. There should be a way to hold a government to account. You promise something, that is your campaign, your election campaign, you're elected on that promise. You can't do the job, you can't deliver what you promised. Harder than you thought. Changed your mind. Well, just go. Go. Honestly. And you know, the media lets them get away with it. I can't believe it. Peter Malinowski stands up there and spins. Just spins. And the journalist he doesn't have the street smarts to say, I'm sorry, Premier, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you just said. Would you just answer the question? You promised to stop the ramping. You were elected on that promise and you didn't deliver, and clearly you can't deliver. Why don't you just resign? But you see, the media, I don't know who they hire. I mean, they must be children. Nobody with any chutzpah. There's another word for it, but I'll use chutzpah. Anyway, while we have a compliant media, people like Peter Malinowskis will be able to spin themselves out of any corner they find themselves in. I see we went way over time yesterday. I'll try and make amends today, Peter. What is it? The 10th, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. October 10. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. Happy wedding anniversary if it's a day of celebration for you. October 10. 1865, on this very day, John Wesley Hyatt. Now, I thought this was going to be the anniversary of hotels or something, but no. John Wesley Hyatt patents the billiard ball. Made from cellulose nitrate, which became later known as celluloid. Albany, New York. Patent number US 50359A, if you doubt me. What else? 1911, Claire Hollingworth, British war correspondent, who was the first person to report the outbreak of World War II. Born in England, died in 2017, born this day 1911. 1899, African-American inventor Isaac R. Robinson patents the bicycle frame, which I guess must be like patenting the bicycle, because God, you couldn't really have a bicycle without a bicycle frame, could you, Pete? Don't think. 1731, Henry Cavendish, English physicist and chemist, he discovered hydrogen. Born in Nice, died in 1810, born 1731. The first dinner jacket. We cover everything on this program, ladies and gentlemen. The first dinner jacket, the tuxedo, was worn to the autumn ball at Tuxedo Park in New York, which is, I guess, where it got the name tuxedo. 1886. It doesn't tell me who invented it, but somebody must have come up with it. Helen Hayes, American actress. 1900, Caesar and Cleopatra. Happy Days. The first female EGOT. Pete, do you know what an EGOT is?
No idea.
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Okay.
Clean sweep. Born in Washington. She died in 1993 at a grand age. What else? The first synthetic detergent, it was called Draft. Procter & Gamble made it, went on sale on this day in 1933. Yeah. Pan Am begins a regular flight around the world in 1959. That would have been in the Strato Clipper, I would have thought, which was a derivative of an old Boeing design which was set up for World War II, but they reconfigured it to a passenger aircraft. Had a great big bulbous front, a bit like the B-52. Wonderful makers of aeroplanes, Boeing. Abel Tasman, Dutch seafarer and explorer. first European to sight Tasmania, dies around the age of 55. It was 1659 on this day. Giuseppe Verdi, Italian opera composer. Rigoletto, La Traviata, born this day, 1813, died 1901. Christopher Reeve, American actor, Superman, Somewhere in Time, dies of an adverse reaction to an antibiotic at the age of 52. Of course, he was in a wheelchair and severely handicapped. 2004. Pete, he fell off a horse, you know that?
Yes, he was jumping.
Yeah, well.
And as I understand it, it was the helmet that snapped his neck.
Oh, God, I've heard stories about seatbelts in cars that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear. 1883, Ralph Richardson, later Sir Ralph Richardson, English actor. Anna Karenina, Dr. Zhivago, dies of a stroke at 80. Orson Welles, 1885, on the very same day, American actor, director of perhaps what people call the best movie ever made in the world, a movie called Citizen Kane. War of the Worlds as well, dies of a heart attack at the age of 70, same day. 1985, Yul Brynner, Russian-Swiss, Tony, Academy Award-winning stage and screen actor. The King and I, The Ten Commandments, and don't forget The Magnificent Seven, dies of lung cancer at just 65, all on the same day. 1975, English American actress Elizabeth Taylor. She was 43, sixth marriage and remarriage to Welsh actor Richard Burton, who was 49. That was 1.5 years after their divorce in 76. Oh, and just quickly, Murray Walker, dear Murray Walker, he used to come on my program on DN all the time when we were running the Grand Prix circus here in Adelaide. He was a fantastic guest. Murray Walker, English motorsport commentator, journalist, Formula One BBC commentator. He was born in Birmingham. He died in 2021, but he was born in 1923. Thank you so much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to tune in on Friday, but we'll be back tomorrow. Tune in on Friday for live streaming where you can call us and talk about what you will. We'll have a whole coterie of very interesting guests for you to talk to or for you to listen to. JeremyCordeaux.com, 9 o'clock till 12, live streaming. Peter Clayton will be back with me tomorrow. Jeremy Cordeaux here in the garage, the Court of Public Opinion. Thanks for viewing. Believe in yourself, and bye for now.